Hey guys, welcome to the Silver Report Uncut. For most Americans, this is the true cost of inflation. The June inflation rate was 9.1%. It was up half a percentage point from the previous month and the highest since 1981. But this only tells half of the story about what is going on with Americans and how expensive life has become for many. According to the Consumer Price Index, the June inflation rate of 9.1%, up half a percentage point from the previous month and the highest since 1981, only tells half the story about how expensive life is becoming for many Americans. According to the Consumer Price Index data published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the overall figure conceals the fact that not all prices have risen uniformly and that products that have become especially expensive also happen to be the ones people usually can't do without, such as food, fuel, energy. According to the government data released on July 13, 2022, consumer price inflation in the U.S. increased 9.1% over the previous 12 months to June. This is the fastest increase since November 1981, and among foodstuffs, margarine and eggs saw the greatest price increases in the year ending June, rising by more than 34% and 33% respectively. Butter was up more than 21%, flour was up more than 19%, chicken, it lagged behind, more than 18%. Milk and coffee, they were up around 16%. Regular gasoline increased by more than 60%, and diesel by approximately 76%. And fuel oil, which many Americans use to heat their homes, nearly doubled in price. Natural gas prices increased by more than 38%, with electricity prices increasing by nearly 14%. On July 13th, the White House issued a statement via the association, and they said that inflation figures were unacceptable, but outdated, noting the gasoline prices had dropped by around 40 cents and around 8% in the previous 30 days. The most prominent price increases tend to be accompanied by supply issues as part of their effort to reduce carbon emissions. They added that the most prominent price increases tend to be accompanied by supply issues, part of their efforts to reduce the climate problems of the carbon. The administration and the financial elite's policies restrict gasoline production. There was also what was going on with the sickness on the birds they claimed that happened, and this reduced the number of laying hens by around 8% in the entire nation. This is just in a few months, and it hampered egg production. Grain production has been hampered by an exorbitant fertilizer prices and the herbicide shortages. Higher grain prices, in turn, affect not only bakery goods and flour, but animal feed, which in turn affects the meat and the milk prices. Normally, when prices rise, consumers tighten their belts and they consume less, causing prices to fall. However, consumer demand has been artificially boosted as a result of this huge federal spending packages during this whole fake crisis, and some economists predicted that the prices will have to rise relatively steeply for another year or two just for the economy's productivity catches up with all the new printed money. Now, a lot of that, I think, is total nonsense. Total nonsense, because they did not do this by accident. It wasn't just trying to help people, trying to save people. And another thing, with the producer prices rising so fast, it's likely that the CPI is going to get even hotter because the producer prices have come out ahead of the CPI data 17 consecutive months. And we just covered this. The producer prices, they rose again by 11.2%. This is very significant because inflation was much lower than that. So when the producer prices are higher than the CPI data, that means that the producers, they're going to need to raise their prices. And this is all across the board. They're going to need to raise their prices by a nice margin, but how far can they raise them? Americans are tapped out. They're turning to new credit card accounts, all different methods to try to maintain their life for now. They're maxed out. Things are very, very difficult. So how are they going to pay these extra prices? How are they going to pay rising prices? I think this is actually reconfiguring the way people view the world, the way they shop, the way they save, the way they view their government. But that's a good thing. It took something real sharp, very, very hard to wake a lot of people up to the fact that these people are no good. And of course, they wiped out 8% of all chickens in the United States. How terrible, right in the middle of a food crisis. And all this is saying that this is because of their efforts to reduce carbon. Don't you know that was the plan? The Green Deal? That was the plan. That was actually what the reset was titled. That was what it was named before all this happened. And they tried to put it into implementation here, and they were laughed at. They were laughed at so much because of the car farts, or the cow farts, all this stuff, and they thought, oh, that's so bad. But no, they're focusing on the cows because they want to take out the meat. They want to take out the meat. They have to take over the farms. They're saying that they're helping this carbon because they're taking down on the farms and they're causing a food shortage. All this has been in effect for a long time. And so they want to lie to us and tell us, oh, it's a new deal. It's not a new deal. It's a new order. It's a new order, and it's the same thing as this reset. It's the same exact thing. All I did was take the front page, rip it off of the packet, put a new page on that said the reset. And they sent it out once again. You see, the whole reason that they get into all this, they have these controllers, these very rich and powerful people that are controlling everything, all of our crises, all of our lives. They have enormous investments that have been made for years into this whole movement. This movement where they're going to convert by force the entire world's economies to begin purchasing their products. So that's the reason you say, why has Bill been gathering so much farmland? Well, and he just bought a whole lot more, like 20,000 acres or something. Now, the reason that someone would want to own all of the farmland in the current climate where they're claiming we will own nothing, so they're going to confiscate all property from all the private citizens. But Bill Gates is going to own all of this property. And at that point, Bill will own all of this property, and we won't have a lot of access to farms. They're going to cut off the private farmers. They're saying this is about the climate and all this stuff. We know what it is. They're implementing their plan. The weather has nothing to do with this at all. It has nothing to do with the things they're doing. These are all specifically targeting our country. And you think, oh, well, all this might have been halfway because of the crisis. A part of their plan is to take down the airlines, the cruise lines. And where was all of this crisis focused in the very beginning? And where has it stayed focused? Why do you think they're bailing out these airline companies? Or they did. They're not doing it anymore because now they're taking money from the airline companies. They saw the prices on the tickets had risen by 50% or sometimes more. And they said, oh, well, we're going to need to fine you for not moving fast enough and for not having enough customer service agents. It's crazy because they're going to need the government to survive. They're going to need the government. And they've essentially destroyed these whole entire operations, just like they wanted to. I mean, if you don't believe it, they got all these pictures in the beginning talking about we need to break the habit. We need to stop this. We need to stop going on cruises, stop going on airlines. And they say it's because of the pollution. Is that true? Because they exempted private flights from all of these restrictions that had caused so much damage during this whole past few years. They restricted private flights. They restricted them from needing to do any of these mandates because for the most part, these guys all fly private. And they fly over to their Davos and all their other meetings. They get together to talk about how bad the public airlines are on the economy, on the weather, how terrible it is, how terrible cow farts are for the weather. But at the same time, they are the ones flying. They're the ones who are costing a whole lot more. They're just one or two people hopping on a plane to fly to a specific destination. That's not cheap. It's not like a bus or something. It's like a limousine of the air. They're going in there paying for private transport, a private pilot. Probably cost a fortune, of course. I've lost track these days. But it's ridiculous. How's it going to get better? How's it going to get any better if these people are devoted on making sure it does not? Either way, it's going to be a lot more difficult moving forward. I thank you guys for stopping by and joining us. As always, stay free.